reviewed it on my site. I didn't really give it too good of a review. It was entertaining, but as a lifelong N.W.A. fan, I'm just going to say this: it was very, very inaccurate. And we're going to bring on Jerry Heller right now and break it down, the why, and talk about a whole bunch of other things. What's up, Jerry?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Jerry? How you doing tonight?
Nothing. I'm watching my Dodgers get beat tonight, 6-3 by
the
Mets.
We just watched our Cubs win.
Yeah.
Time to take.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's only taken 107 years, but they're not there yet. But and first and foremost, I read this interview that you just did, which is blowing up with Smash HD or SmashD.com. It was a very candid interview. I mean, were they in your house? I mean, I see pictures of plaques and just a hell of a piece I'm looking at right here.
Yeah, they were in my house, and I moved out of Calabasas, and I'm living a little further out on the lake now, and I got divorced in April, so I didn't need that big house anymore, and it was right next door to Easy's and had a lot of memories there. I just thought I would move, and my brother and my nephew live out here, so it's at this stage of my life, I just want to be around my family.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, that's always a good thing to have family nearby too. You definitely. I mean, for people that don't know, you've worked with the likes of Creedence, Pink Floyd. I mean, this goes way, way before N.W.A. Out of all the stuff you've done over the years, what do you remember the most and why?
Well, I have what I call my magic moments in the music business, and I think that probably one of the most important moments of my life was Elton John coming to this country and opening at the Troubadour. That was just magic. And then Van Morrison at Carnegie Hall, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young at the Greek Theater. I go all the way back to the mid-'60s, where most guys that got started at that time were agents like myself and David Geffen and Irving Azoff and, of course, Tom Ross. And, of course, Bill Graham was a promoter. He was doing the Fillmores in Winterland. So we all got started about the same time in the mid-'60s.
Wow.
But I think that the most important moment of my life probably was, the 8 years that I spent with Eric Wright and N.W.A.
Oh, yeah. Some of the most important years of my life when they was rocking, you know what I'm saying? Like, they really shaped a lot of the things that we was listening to back when Me and Prayers was coming up, and now this movie then came out, and it's like it's everybody hype about N.W.A. again, but I just feel like if Eazy was still here, he could have done so much more. You know what I mean?
I think that Eazy was probably the greatest visionary of his time, and I give certainly Dre credit for being what I think is the greatest producer of his generation. I mean, his body of work it's just phenomenal. And it stretches over 20-some years, So, I mean, his body of work was just phenomenal. But Eazy was the visionary, and he was the conceptualizer of Ruthless. And I really took issue with that part of the movie where they made it look like Dre and Cube. Dre was in the World Class Wrecking Crew. Yellow was in the World Class Wrecking Crew. Cube was in CIA. Eazy was the founder, and then, of course, he was the conceptualizer, and then he and I started the company together in February of 1987.
Yeah. And historically in your book, and it's been all over the internet, even Lonzo verified this, Eazy-E sought out you in the movie they got you chasing him around. I mean, how did that make you feel seeing that type of inaccurate account?
Well, it's what I call revisionist history. You know, obviously, Cube and Dre were calling the shots in that movie, and you know, they made it either the way they wanted to believe it, or they just did anything they wanted. And remember, it is a movie, so you know, they're not, you know, they don't have to stick to the exact letter of the law, but when they start talking about Eazy getting beat up by Suge Knight, I mean, that's a joke, man. I mean, that never happened.
Just like the scene when Eazy was riding and he looking at the Dre billboard and like crying and shit like that. I really don't see Eazy doing no shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, maybe they just threw that in for drama reasons, but it kind of made people look at, like, people that didn't know Eazy-E kind of look at him a different way. I really don't like that shit.
Eazy was a hard motherfucker, man, and he would never, ever cry. You know, he would do what he did. He would make another album and discover Bone Thugs and Harmony, and then do another album of his own. And you know, for them to say that I got fired, I mean, come on. You know, Eazy and I were there at the beginning, and we were there at the end, and to make it look like I was sitting in my kitchen crying and saying, "Don't fire me." Come on, anyone that believes that, you know, is just a fool.
I mean, for a guy that has been in the music business for decades, going back to the mid-'60s, as you said, I doubt that if that happened, you would be bawling like a baby. You know?
It didn't happen, and I wouldn't be bawling like a baby. And he and I were, he was like my son. You know, that would never happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, I saw on Facebook today a picture of my nephew, Terry Heller, who owns a group of restaurants now called the Plan Check Rooms, with will.i.am. And, you know, he was one of the A&R guys at Ruthless that Eazy and I hired. And he signed the Black Eyed Peas when they were the At Band Clan. And I think that we signed Will when he was 14 or 15 and put him on salary. And, of course, you know, he turned into one of the, you know, most important stars of our generation. But you look at the people that were on Ruthless, and, you know, Eazy he would have been probably one of the most important people in the music, television, and movie business.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, he had the Bone Thugs, was, you know, multi-platinum, and the thing that bothered me was, you know, It's On was one of my favorite fucking albums of the '90s. It was the EP, but it was one of my favorite releases of the '90s. They didn't even mention it. They didn't mention Rhythm D. They didn't mention Dirty Red. None of them guys. Cocaine. It was like, how can you cut out all of Eazy's people, but then, you know, all these other guys are inserted? It just didn't make sense to me. Like you said, it was a Hollywood movie.
Didn't mention Knockout. It didn't mention Drayster. Didn't mention N.W.A. or Menage a Trois. Didn't mention all the important people. J.J. Fad, man.
Yeah.
It didn't mention all the important people that were so crucial to Ruthless. You know, Ruthless wasn't just a gangster rap label. And it didn't mention, you know, if Eazy wouldn't have passed away when he did, I think that Bone Thugs and Harmony probably, because I left then, Bone Thugs and Harmony probably would have turned out to be really one of the most important groups of the entire rap era.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. You know, but yeah, they didn't mention all these people. They you know, they had the Ice Cube diss in there, of course, no Vaseline, but they didn't have real motherfucking G's. There's so much left out. I would like to see a film called Eazy Does It. I would like to see it done by a producer who actually works with the people that knew Eazy the best, rather than the two people that left. You know what I mean? And get them from that perspective. And
remember that in the early days, Eazy signed the Hughes brothers. They were staff video producers at Ruthless, And
they
I
can
would
make
love
that movie happen.
I would love to see the Hughes brothers, do an Eazy-E documentary. They came to me recently, Alan did, and he wanted me to do something on the Dre. He's doing a Dre Jimmy documentary, and I turned him down. I'm not interested in that. I'm just interested in in keeping on establishing the legacy of Eazy.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And it is what it is. Well, I love Sergio's film, EasyCPT.com, the documentary, and of course your book, which is still available. People can order it. You got a website or?
Well, you can get it now. Simon & Schuster just re-released the ebook version at $9.95. It was $24.95 when it first came out, but they re-released it at $9.95, so it's a bargain now. And you could still find it on Amazon. I buy it myself on Amazon sometimes.
Yeah,
it's a good read.
Because I love to autograph the books and give them to special people, And Sergio, man, that guy's devoted his life.
Yeah.
Eazy-E CPT. He's the man. He's the greatest. I love those guys.
Yeah, they keep the leg. That's how I found out all my ruthless information after Eazy had passed, because Tamika or whatever, she would never keep a website up for more than 6 months at a time. It seemed like. So once Sergio came on the scene, it was good because he connected you back with the Cocaines and Cole 187 and all these different people that Penthouse players, all these different people that you weren't seeing before.
Yeah, I forgot all about Penthouse players. Of course, we did those with DJ Quick, and we put that on priority also.
Yeah, that album that went gold too. I think paid the cost.
Everything we put out, was a special kind of record. Nothing, of course, approached Straight Outta Compton, Ethel Verzagen, and the actual N.W.A. albums. But I got to tell you something: the D.O.C. is still, he and Rakim are still the two greatest rappers of all time. If he wouldn't have gotten that accident, what a tragedy. This guy was, no one does it better. What a great record that is. And you forget that Dre produced the first R&B album, produced the hip-hop tracks with Michelet. That was an album
they didn't have her in the movie either. Like, how they didn't have J.J. Fad, Arabian Prince, and all them in the movie. Like,
people that were
Arabian Prince,
show
who's a very good friend of mine. I don't see him or talk to him, but he and I were always close friends. The guy was a super talent, and he was one of the original members of N.W.A.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love all these other guys. I'll tell you something. When I look on Facebook, N.W.A. had about 40,000 members. Everybody was a member of N.W.A. Guys like DJ Speed. DJ Speed used to take in Eazy's laundry, So, I see all these guys, how they were members of N.W.A. And, Arabian Prince was an original member of N.W.A.
What about Crazy D? Was he a member of N.W.A.?
Well, he wasn't an actual member, but he was on the first record. He was a very close friend of Eazy's. He is on the cover of that, of that N.W.A. and the Posse. And he was always with Eazy. Yeah, he was on the first record. Was he an actual member of N.W.A.? No. But he was on some N.W.A. records.
That Dope Man, what was the other one? Gangster.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah. He was on the show.
I like him a lot.
Gary Ballin, he was on the show. And he said that the film was about 75% accurate, 25% inaccurate, something to that effect. Like I said, it was an entertaining flick, but being a day one fan, it just, you got to go You got to go see Sergio's documentary or read Jerry Heller's book, or hopefully, like you said, the Hughes brothers will do like an Eazy-E type documentary.
Well, I'm gonna stay on their asses until they do, because they're incredibly talented filmmakers. They're good guys, and you know, Eazy hired them right out of they were at film school at LACC, or you know, one of those junior colleges in Los Angeles, and they did a lot of great stuff for us.
And this was way before Menace to Society.
Right in the beginning.
Yeah.
They were still in college.
So they did all those early ones.
Well, between them and Marty Thomas also did lots of really important videos. And Terry Heller did videos. He produced some of the Bone Thugs and Harmony videos, and he did several of the other acts, and then he went into business with Brett Ratner for a while, and of course Brett went in the movie business.
See, that's what people need to know, because they just don't understand how many people that ruthless, you know what I'm saying, the ruthless tree goes everywhere. In the flick, one more thing I want to say about the flick, it showed the D.O.C. in there for, all it showed him in there for was his accident. It didn't show him contributing, like you said, he was the greatest lyricist. It didn't show him contributing lyrics or contributing anything. It just showed him. Well,
besides being a great lyricist, he was a great rapper.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that he and Rakim, nobody flowed like they flowed. Nobody could rap like he could. That's why that album, No One Does It Better, is so prophetic, because I always felt that he was the best. And people that were there remember that he opened the only major N.W.A. tour. He was the opening act on the tour, and he started off by doing 6 or 8 minutes and wound up doing 30 minutes by the end of the tour. He was so well received. And his album, we were going to ship, I think, 70,000, and we wound up shipping gold. Yeah, wow. He was a great rapper.
Yeah. Yeah, we just had Marty Thomas on, and he just re-released an uncut director's version of Real Motherfucking G's. Did you get to see that?
I haven't seen it, but I love Marty Thomas. He was a pleasure to work with. He always came in under budget, and, he was like a member of our family.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you guys did have a family atmosphere over there, except for a couple infections that kind of came in. Do you look at Suge Knight as an infection?
Well, Suge Knight is just evil, and that's what evil does. He was a bad bodyguard. He was a bad guy. It's hard for me to even, put a real title on him, but the D.O.C. brought him in, and then he worked for Dre for a while, and then of course he went in business with Dre. But he's a bad guy.
One thing they didn't touch on either was the fact that your house was vandalized, your life was threatened.
Yeah. Right.
What were some of the incidents that? Didn't you come home one time and found out that your house was broken into?
Yeah, it was July 4th weekend of 1990. Eazy had just moved into Calabasas. Dre hadn't moved in yet, and I was having my floors done. I think Eazy moved in January of 1990. I moved there in May, and I had some work being done, and I walked in, and there was no red Corvette in my garage. And there was a lot of stuff missing, and on the wall was spray painted, on the mirror in one of the bedrooms was spray painted, "Payback's a motherfucker, Jerry," or "Payback's a bitch, Jerry." One of those things. And, I always felt that Suge had something to do with it.
Do you think
that? He always denied it.
No. No. Well, it's good that you're out here. You're setting the record straight. You know, because I look at it like this: Eazy-E came in with the money, but they needed you to take them to the next level. So when you and Eazy came together, it was like the puzzle had fit. You know what I mean? And the two of you are really the brains behind this whole thing. I don't think you guys got the credit that you deserve. I mean, they're trying to give Eazy some credit, but then again, it looks like they're making a mockery out of him in some instances. Like they made him look like he was broke towards the end, and he had just won with triple platinum or something with his solo album.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. I mean, that's just, you know, it's just ridiculous, and it's not true. So I always, you know, I felt bad about the way he was portrayed. I've always felt bad about his legacy not being protected. That's why I wrote the book, really.
Yeah.
But you know, for them to make him look like, first of all, he never would have gone to that studio if Suge Knight called him. They made it look like Suge called him. He would never go there at 3:30 in the morning, or 3 o'clock, whatever it was, if Suge would have called him. There's only one guy that could have gotten him over to that studio, and we all know who that is.
Yeah,
so that was ridiculous. They never touched him. You know, there were 4 guys there dressed in black with lead pipes and whatever. He called me the next morning. He was embarrassed because he had let that happen to put himself in that position. You know, he believed that he was going there to see somebody else. And he called me and told me, and we dealt with it, you know, and that's when I made the Dr. Dre deal with Jimmy. Because Jimmy called and said, hey, I don't think that Dre will ever record for your company again. And we had been trying to make things right, and his people just wouldn't allow it. And I said to Eazy, you know, Jimmy's probably right, and if we're going to make a deal for his futures, we might as well do it with someone like Jimmy who we know will pay us. So, and in the beginning, you know, Eazy paid Alonzo $750 to meet with me after he had tried to set up a meeting for over 3 months. And Alonzo is another guy that doesn't get enough credit. There's one of the most important guys of the entire early L.A. scene. He wasn't a gangster rapper. I've always said that World Class Wrecking Crew were really the Temptations of rap. But he was an important guy. And he was an honorable guy and a good guy. And he was responsible for Yella and Dre and, you know, and Cube and Sir Jinx. And they were all in his groups. And I made a deal with him. Also at the time, I was managing Rodney and Joe Cooley and Egyptian Lover and Bobby Jimmy and the Critters, L.A. Dream Team, J.J. Fad. So, you know, for them to make it look like, you know, what they made it look like was, like I say, I call it revisionist history.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, here's a gentleman that knows the history of West Coast early pioneer rap just like yourself. I'm going to bring him out and let him introduce himself. Who is this?
Yo, what's up, man? It's Clientele.
How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Clientele?
Hey, Clientele,
hey, what's
how
up,
you
man?
doing?
Hey, man, I just want to say what's up to my Uncle Jerry, you know what I'm saying, and happy belated birthday to you, too, man.
Thanks, man. Clientele's another guy that doesn't get credit for, you know, he was there, man. He was there in the middle of everything. And, of course, he was involved with Alonzo and World Class Wrecking Crew, and he's a great writer. And here's a guy that's going to, you know, he'll break through as a movie producer and a television producer. You know, he's a young guy. It's just starting for Clientele. And he's a good friend of mine. Good friend of mine.
Yep.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
sir.
Yeah, we just had him co-host a West Coast Roundtable with us, had a bunch of legends and pioneers, and always honored to have him on the show as well as yourself. What's it like talking to him after? I mean, you guys have known each other going back to the early '80s. When did you start? When did you two meet each other?
I don't know, Mark. When we met each other, around 85 or 6?
Yeah. It's been about that long, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, 30 years we've been knowing each other. That's wild when you think about it, because back then it's like hip hop was different. It was different than it is now. It was different. It evolved, in the '90s and just took off into the stratosphere. But back then there were very few people who believed in it, and one of the people who believed in it was Jerry. Jerry took it, he took it a responsibility almost to heart, to say, hey, these are some people that have something special, and I believe in them, and I'm gonna risk, anything that I have to help them to follow their dreams. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand about what Jerry was able to do. He got into
Mark, another thing that really pissed me off during the movie was they made it look like I worked at McCullough.
Yeah, that was wild, wasn't it?
I mean, what's that about, man?
Yeah, that was.
Even when I met Eazy, it wasn't inside McCullough; it was out on the street in front of McCullough.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I mean, I know I haven't worked for anyone since 1970.
Yeah, it's like I was. Yeah, it's like I was telling Scott and them. They made it look like you were somehow lurking, back in the, behind the, where they press the records, waiting for the next, young black ignorant victim to come along and pounce on them. It's just none of that happened. It was nothing like that. And in fact, like you said, you were already managing several groups, including Dr. Dre, when Eazy came along, and Eazy paid Lonzo some money to meet you. It wasn't the other way around. He wanted to meet you, and that's it's just wild, man. That revisionist history like that. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and here's two guys that were there telling you how it is. I think I'm rolling with you guys. If it was Vegas odds, it would be 10-1. But we were talking about having the Hughes brothers or somebody make I'd like to say, okay, you made Straight Outta Compton, make Eazy does it, but do it from his perspective through his people that he knew. They didn't even show you. You know what pissed me off, and I'm sure this pissed you guys off because you guys knew him. I'm as a fan pissed off. They didn't even show him as a family man. They didn't show him as a charitable contributor.
Right.
And he was all
Eazy did a lot.
He loved his children.
True.
He was an incredible philanthropist. Actually, I funded Ruthless, and I funded the first tour, because while Eazy, had money, he didn't have that kind of money. And, it was, to send 29 people on an airplane to Nashville and stuff, you got to have connections, and you got to have Platinum American Express cards, and
stuff that you were equipped with, huh?
Yeah. So, but he was when it came to concepts, he was the conceptualizer. Dre was the musicalizer. He did the tracks for every record that ever came out on Ruthless. I mean, the guy's body of work is phenomenal. And I got to tell you that if I can put together something, I'd love to have clientele involved in the production part of that project.
Man, I'm already there, Jerry. You already know it. I got you.
Okay. Great, man.
Hell yeah. That'll be dope.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. We got another caller here from you guys' neck of the woods. 323. Who is this?
My name is James, and I got a question for Jerry Hiller. Mr. Hiller?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Hiller, I'm writing a book and everything about anti-Semitism. And I think I know how I can end it all over the world. Would you be interested in helping me?
Well, I certainly would be interested in talking to you.
Okay.
And I will give you advice. I sort of have, lots of projects that I'm working on now. Plus, I try and help as many. The guys will tell you I try and help as many people as I can. So if you inbox me on Facebook, I'll get back to you. I get back to everybody that clientele will tell you. I write back everybody that writes me.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you, caller, for calling in. Get at Jerry Heller, Facebook. Yeah, I mean, you got people, that like clientele, who was there, who can verify what you're saying. But what's done is done. Now it's time for the future. What are you looking at in 2015, 2016?
Well, I've been working on a cable series directed by Jim Sheridan, who did 59 episodes of Boardwalk Empire. And he also did, he's won several Academy Awards, one for My Left Foot. So he's a major director. And, when I think of Gary Gray, yeah, he was around. But he did Be Cool, which was the sequel to Get Shorty, which is probably the worst sequel of any movie that's ever been made. Get Shorty was one of my favorite movies, and I went to see Be Cool, and it just, wow, that was such a bad movie.
Hell yeah.
But he's one of Cube's guys, so there you go.
Yeah. That's another thing. It was produced by the two guys that left the group. It was their people. People were left out of the whole process of the writing the script, and like you should have been interviewed. Cocaine should have been interviewed. Rhythm D. So many people. Bone Thugs and Harmony. I mean, how can you not include them? They go all the way up to the scene of Eazy's death. But there was so much from 93 to 95 that they just completely left out. It just baffles me. But it is what it is. Last time you were on the show, you said you were gonna see the movie Front Row with a couple lawyers. Did that happen?
Well, yeah. I've said all along that I thought it was inappropriate for me to speak on the movie when I hadn't seen the movie. Well, now I've seen the movie, and I'm weighing, what I'm going to do about the way I was portrayed. And some of the, let's politely call them inaccuracies in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you said Gary Balance said it was 75% accurate?
Mm-hmm.
65.
He said they had you in.
He said there was a.
He said they had you in different spots. You wasn't on certain shows.
He said all the inaccurate stuff had to pertain pretty much to you and a lot of the.
Yeah.
The only accurate stuff, I guess, was. Well, he even said that the Cube thing didn't happen because he said wasn't he a tour manager? He said that when Cube gave a speech before they did Fuck the Police, that he didn't give a speech. How they had it in the movie, something like that. So.
Yeah, he was the production manager. Adrian Gregory, my longtime friend, who we had dealt with other acts together for years, and he was Tupac's manager. He was the tour manager, and Gary was the production manager, and the tour ran like clockwork. They were both great,
Yeah. Oh yeah, Gary Ballin, a hell of a guy to interview. And he threw a lot of. I mean, he's for Eazy and you. I mean, he was going to bat for you guys. Same with just about everybody we've interviewed about the film. So I mean, it's crazy, and it's not just the N.W.A. movie. a lot of people in mainstream pop culture, they just take what they want and they completely rewrite other parts of history or leave people out of history.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and you can't do that. You know, like one of the founding members of the Two Live Crew, which you guys both know, Mr. Mix, he's not even legally allowed to say the name Two Live Crew, and he founded the group.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
And he's a good guy. You know,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
used
Hell of
to
a
use.
guy.
He had a promotion guy named Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Okay, who did the promotion for Two Live Crew, and that was Luther Campbell, who was living in Florida at the time. He did promotion for all of our records. But Doug Young was really our guy.
Yeah.
You know, he got in his car in the morning, man, and he'd start in Riverside and go all the way up to Seattle. And remember, radio stations weren't playing our records, so he had to go to clubs and places like that. And you know, you can't forget K-Day, man. Greg Mack, Julio G, Tony G, the Mixmasters. K-Day was I mean, they played our records.
Yeah.
They were so important to early West Coast gangster rap, man. It was unbelievable. And you know, all those guys that know are all my friends. It's funny that, you know, these guys that really weren't even involved, like DJ Speed and guys like that, all they do is talk shit about us, and they weren't even there.
Yeah.
DJ Speed was too busy taking in Easy's laundry, man. So, but the guys that know, like Clientele and Alonzo doesn't get the credit that he should have gotten, man.
True.
Alonzo's one of the most important guys in the West Coast scene. Roger Clayton, man, Uncle Jam's Army.
Yeah, Roger, man. Yeah. Oh man, Uncle Jam's Army.
Absolutely, man. Those guys were all important. And you know something? Another thing about the movie is, have you guys ever met Brian Turner?
No. Of course, I know about
Brian Turner is one of the greatest record men I've ever met. Not only that, I'm not sure. I mean, I wasn't there, but I'm not sure that anyone could just walk into his office with a baseball bat and break it up like he did in the movie. And Brian, you know, they sort of made him seem very wishy-washy, which he isn't and wasn't. Brian Turner is a hardcore record guy that was brought up at Capitol Records and K-Tel. He had a partner named Mark Cerami, who was one of the best distribution guys and sales guys in the history of our business. And those guys, while they really didn't understand N.W.A., they believed in me. And that's what I brought to the table. I brought credibility.
Yeah. You already had a body of work that was just unbelievable at the time.
Well, you know, of the 20 people last year that were nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, 5 were my acts. I think there's another 5 this year.
There's no reason why you shouldn't be in there, Jerry.
I started electronic music with a German group called Kraftwerk. Yeah. And they were nominated last year, and hopefully N.W.A. will get in this year. Hopefully.
Yeah, we're trying to get that going, man. We're pushing hard, trying to get those votes.
Well, you have to push hard. You have to push hard because
hard,
they don't do it by themselves. Because remember, these other groups all have big record companies behind them.
That's right.
And it's very political.
What's crazy is, you know what I'm saying, this group could potentially have a billionaire behind it. You know, I don't know. What's Dre doing with it? Clientele, is he promoting it?
He just actually became aware of the nominations as of yesterday or the day before. So he's definitely, you know, behind it. We haven't really talked about like what he's actually going to do. hopefully he'll be mentioning it more if he does interviews or anything like that. But I do know that, Yella and a few other folks in the Army are trying to really push, to get the awareness up so that people can go to, rockhall.com and go to voting and then, put their vote in there because, again, the more votes from the fans, it even influences, the voting panel to actually, put them in there. But, this is the fourth time, man, that N.W.A. has been nominated.
Exactly.
And that's crazy.
I mean, all of a sudden he found out that they're nominated. This is their fourth year of being nominated.
Yeah.
So
they should be a shoo-in with that movie just coming out. I mean,
no doubt.
Well, they should anyhow.
Yeah.
I think that they and Public Enemy are two of the most important groups of our generation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Public Enemy politically, and N.W.A. sociologically. And I've said this all along that if there wasn't an N.W.A., Above the Law would have been the biggest group on the West Coast.
Right.
Yeah,
very
big time too.
And look who wrote their songs: 187, Cocaine, Dirty Red. I mean, great songs, man. Nickel Slick Nigga. I mean, Black Superman. I mean, they were an important group, but they had at Ruthless. They had to stand behind the owner of the company's group, and N.W.A.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I love Above the Law, and I always push him as much as I can. I think Hutch is one of the most talented guys that I've ever met, and that sound on Straight Outta Compton, that sort of siren, that grating siren sound in the background. I mean, that's Hutch's signature sound, man.
Hutch, yeah.
Everybody got it from him.
Yeah, so Hutch played
G-Funk.
a real big part in a lot of the early G-Funk songs. Even now, some of the stuff that he's doing now still sound good as hell.
Well, he's an incredible musician, because most rappers are not musicians. He's an incredible musician, and he can do blues, and he can do hip hop, and he can do rap, he can do jazz, he can do it all. And like you said, Cocaine is another guy. The guy should have been a big star, man. Could have been.
Both of their dads were musicians themselves. I mean,
and Drayster and Knockout and all the guys that stuck with Eazy all the way.
All the way through. That's right. Had his back.
And Ren and Yellow, they've had very, very minimal roles in the flick too. I noticed.
Well, people don't realize that in the beginning, Yellow had a much more important role than he's given credit for, because High Powered Productions was a combination of Dre and Yella. They produced those records. High Powered Productions was Dre and Yella played an important part with Dre. Ren, Eazy always felt that Ren was the best rapper in the group.
That's what Eazy felt?
Yeah. Ren's just a quiet, behind-the-scenes kind of guy. But, Ren is a tough guy. And street guy like Eazy, and he and Eazy were incredibly close.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Man, I just wish Eazy was still around, boy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, most importantly for his kids. You got to feel for his kids.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it's about. I really felt that little Eazy or E3 should have played his father too. I thought that you gave Ice Cube's son all these acting classes to prepare him and this and that. Why couldn't you do the same thing with Eazy's own flesh and blood, who sounds just like him?
Well, they had an acting coach on set the whole time too. Keep that in mind. There was a person there that coached them every step of the way. So there was a lot of there was a lot of room for them to be successful as actors, and very little room for them to fail. Put it that way.
Well, yeah. So there's really no reason why Lil Eazy shouldn't have been casted. Then, if they had that type of those type of people there, because you got to think, Little Eazy is extremely talented himself, hell of a writer, you know. So I mean, if they had those resources, no reason why he should have been casted. Or E3, you know, Derek, he sounds just like his dad too. Even young Eazy, you know, he sounds like his father as well. So I mean, yeah, but it is what it is. We'll be looking forward to you know, documentaries and maybe other films in the future from different angles, different perspectives. Once again, Jerry, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure, always an honor to have you on. You know, I hope everything goes good, your future endeavors. Please come back. We'd love to have you on again.
All right, always welcome here. Yep.
Yeah, I love talking to you guys because you know what you're talking about. Mark, I got some.
Yes,
I have some health issues this week. Try and call me next week because I do want to talk to you.
All right, no problem, man. We'll do.
Hey,
okay.
I wish you the best in you know, your health too, man. Everybody on the line, I hope we're all healthy. You know.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah.
Especially me. I'm getting old, man.
Yeah, but you know what they say? You know, you don't get older, you just get tougher. So.
Well, that's going to be the title of my next book. You know, only tough guys. Only tough guys get old.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
Someday all you guys will understand what that means. Because
I hope so. I hope
it's
so.
It's very hard. It's very hard, man. Only tough guys get old.
Well, you just keep hanging in there, Jerry. Keep doing what you're doing. Clientele, always a pleasure. Appreciate you